Six.
One over course and distance back in August last year, and was a little bit disappointed when trying 12 furlongs last time at Lingfield, but I would have thought back to 10 will suit.
We'll come back a couple more and pick up the grey. That is one to go for the Archie Watson team.
Yeah, one to go was unlucky last time at Lingfield at the beginning of January, where things just didn't unfold in a smooth manner, and you would have thought with a better trip would have gone very close on that occasion and would have every chance in this race here today.
The next one that's going to walk through the shot is number 12. That is Voir. This is the jockey change. Grace McEntee replacing Martin Dwyer.
Yeah, she's sliding to a winnable mark, and as you say, Grace McEntee replaces. She's had a little bit of time off the track, 43 days, and she sort of runs consistently on these sort of synthetic surfaces, and she's dropped to winnable mark.
And so the last of the runners making their way out of the paddock to the start for our next, the 340 over 10 furlongs.
Ten furlongs, El Salvaje, the 6-4 favourite from 9-4. Money as well for Charlie Arthur, 11-2 from 13-2, 15-2 Bad Attitude. Mandarin is 9s, 11-1 Kentucky Kingdom, and 16-1 Bar. That brings in one to go, who's been a big drifter.
Yeah, he is easy to back, isn't he? But not El Salvaje. He's very strong at the top of the market. 4-year-old who's relatively unexposed as well, George. Only 6 starts in. He was on the up at this track when he was last seen back in the autumn. He's been gelded since then and had a little bit of a break, but if he picks up where he left off, then he must have a good chance in this.
I completely agree. He's an unknown quantity, where a lot of these are very exposed, and you know what you're getting. They run consistently to a level. He has potential to be better than a mark of 72. Obviously, he's got to overcome a little bit of time off the track. He's been off the track for 100 days, but that course and distance victory at the beginning of October, when beating Born a King, a horse of William Haggis, which looked theoretically thrown in, I thought he did well to win. He came from a pretty poor position on that occasion under Luke Morris, and he may well be better than his mark, so he is of interest. And obviously he's had a bit of time off the track. He looked pretty well in the paddock walking around. We didn't actually talk about him because he was one of the last ones out, but he looked pretty fit and well. I think he's quite a light framed horse anyway, and he wouldn't take too much getting ready.
And when he won, when he was last seen over course and distance, he had Oslo back in third. Oslo has since come out and won. That was here before Christmas when he had Charlie Arthur in behind him. Charlie Arthur has been pretty consistent, well, very consistent of late. His last 2 runs have been in a slightly higher grade, and he is dipping back in class a little bit.
Yeah, and he looked... I thought he was one of the paddock picks walking around. A mark of 77 doesn't look like it's out of his grasp, and he has a potential maybe to be a little bit better than we've seen. Things just didn't, as you say, I didn't feel things unfolded in a perfect manner for him last time. He wasn't the quickest in the stride. He can just be a little bit more proactive out the gates. And he's been a horse that has been ridden more forward in the past. If you can just get a bit of a better pitch, I'm sure he'll be seen to better effect.
The pace doesn't look likely on paper to be that strong. As you say, Charlie Arthur might, if he breaks better, go back to a more forward-going set of tactics. Double Reflection looks the obvious one for the lead. Is that a potential problem for the favourite, given the price that he is? You can see it all from a handicapping and potential point of view, but he is a horse that misses the break. His 2 wins came in races where he clocked a decent time off a good gallop. He could fall victim to a messy race, I guess.
Yeah, of course, and that is always an issue here at Chelmsford. I always think position's key, and if you're riding a horse that needs a race to unfold in a certain way, it's always difficult to come from off the pace here, as we've seen in the past, whatever horse you've got. And you kind of need to soften themselves up from the front end slightly, and you need not to get checked when you're wrong when you're coming through the field. So you need a lot of things to drop right when you're trying to ride a horse in a certain manner.
Bad Attitude has had things go his way here recently with back-to-back wins. He'd be another one that would want a decent gallop ahead of him, but they've done a good job with him and got him thriving. Bad Attitude. He's just playing up a bit behind the gates.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Bayston Hill's interesting. He's a horse that, if they can get him out the gates and into stride, I'm sure Charlie Bennett from Stall 1 will be trying to get him motivated and get his position. He's a horse that's operated off this sort of level in the past, but obviously is always open to a horse that's slightly better handicapped than himself.
Last few to go forward. Here's John Blance to call them home.
Thanks, lads. Just waiting for Charlie Arthur, I think, to go in here. Charlie Arthur to move forward. Full complement, almost. Taking a little bit of persuading to go in. Just a little bit nervous in the starting gate as well, Charlie Arthur, but they are now off and racing. Mandarin slowly away for the Betfred.com Fred's number game handicap over the 10 furlongs. Charlie Arthur was out well, though, so too Goddess of Fire in the dark green and red colours, settling up behind the pace towards the far side, Bayston Hill, and one that's running into a much more prominent position is Double Reflection in the yellow and purple. And it's Double Reflection that now goes on to Charlie Arthur and Goddess of Fire. Then Bayston Hill in the white cheek pieces, followed by Melburnian. Then the jockey change Voir is followed then by Bad Attitude in the blue and white colours. Rather wide on the track, El Salvaje at the moment. Then Ballard down in the diamonds, followed by Kentucky Kingdom and Mandarin, and one to go in the grey jacket is at the rear of the field. But it's Double Reflection who takes them onto the far side in front by a length and a half or so to Charlie Arthur, who's racing in second. They're then followed in third by Goddess of Fire. Bayston Hill getting a nice run up the inside there in the blue and white colours. They're then followed by Melburnian, and then right up the inside is Voir in the yellow and green. Then El Salvaje, the well-supported favourite in mid-division at the moment, going through the race a bit better than last time. They're then followed by Bad Attitude, Mandarin and Ballard down still towards the rear of the field, and one to go. It's just about the back marker. So making their way down towards the end of the back straight, and it's Double Reflection who appears just to have stacked a few of them up in behind here. Charlie Arthur in second, Bayston Hill up the inside in third as they go inside the final four. They're then followed by Goddess of Fire, Voir up the inside, then Melburnian. They're then followed up the inner by Ballard down and Bad Attitude. El Salvaje now just being nudged along. Then Kentucky Kingdom, Mandarin, and last at the moment is one to go. Making the turn, 2.5 furlongs left to travel. And now coming to join the long-time leader is Charlie Arthur. It's Charlie Arthur that goes on to Double Reflection up the inside in second. Bayston Hill trying to stay on. Voir is peeled out for a run. They're then followed by Goddess of Fire, who's down the centre of the track as well. Making their way down towards the final furlong and a half. Charlie Arthur has now kicked on. Voir now is coming in the hands of Grace McEntee. Looks like a nice spare ride for her. Bayston Hill is still battling hard. Inside the final furlong they go. Bayston Hill now down the centre of the track to Voir. Then Charlie Arthur, these three. Kentucky Kingdom is finishing strongly as well. Bayston Hill, Charlie Arthur battling back up to the line. Bayston Hill just, I reckon, over Charlie Arthur and Voir. Then Kentucky Kingdom, who finished in fourth.
Bayston Hill wins for Mark Usher and Charlie Bennett. George mentioned him in a relatively positive light beforehand. and he's come through to knuckle down a little bit better than Charlie Arthur, I thought, who was a little bit starey in front, and maybe that run of placed efforts rather than wins isn't just been the handicap mark that he's on, but maybe a little bit of application.
Definitely. He travelled around extremely smoothly, didn't he, under George Rook, and looked the winner at the top of the straight. And you can see him, as he rolled to the rail, you could just see him flick his ears, and he wasn't really concentrating when he was in front. I definitely just think he wants something to aim at for a longer period of time. And he may well just apply himself slightly better. And once he got on top of that rail, he wasn't really letting himself fully down, I don't think.
Yeah, he's not outright ungenuine or anything, but he probably just ended up in front. He carried his rider to the front a little bit too soon, and he maybe needed company for longer.
He's a bit like myself when I was younger. He lacks concentration.
And application.
Yeah, exactly.
The horse who's finished in third, Voix, he's run a nice race for Grace McEntee, the jockey change.
Yeah, she is. That was a good run. She's been running consistently well, and as we highlighted when she was walking around the paddock, she's dropped to a winnable mark, and I'm sure one of these will fall her way.